because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to, I don't dislike George Washington. I don't dislike even some of the most racist people in history. But I want to know their history, but I also want to know not only that, you know, hey, they were whatever, but I also want to know about the Shirley Chisholms. I also want to know about the Frederick Douglasses. And not even Nat Turner. I want to know more about Nat Turner than him just being some revolutionary. I want to know the Nat Turner that was out in the fields. I want to know the Nat Turner that grew up as a kid. I don't want to know just the narrative. You know, tuned in, start begin, sir. Tuned in, start begin, sir. Tuned in, start begin, sir. Tuned in, start begin, sir.
Q9, my food time, fold it up and smoke it. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for.
It's madness, yo. All the things that we could talk about.
Call it.
But let's talk about these urban circumstances real quick.
And basically it's
we got this.
So,
revolutionary.
Frosty hand. Muhammad is the fame's name, forever stand.
Standing on royal fusing of justice for the few, ridiculed by the pale terrorists bent on genocidal obsession, rooted in fear of neglection and abandonment, fueled by nightmares of ancestors' jealousy.
Because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to I don't dislike George Washington.
The kind of friends I think all friends should be like my friends. My friends are the kind of friends I think everyone needs. My friends see the things at times I don't see. My friends hate the police.
What has changed?
Are deemed the criminals, and the blacks are deemed the criminals.
Shut up and help.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. You gonna look? You gonna pick up that book?
Lord, keep me far from the faith. Guide me through night and day. Teach me your ways. Show me the righteous way to sway. Lord, can you teach me, please? Show me the way, I'd say.
Grand Risings, and welcome back to another episode of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal. You already know, man, today about to be off the chain. We're going to talk about flames of change confronting Minnesota's violent crisis. And there's a lot to talk about today. But before we get into any of that, you guys already know I start off with music. And this morning, I want to start off with something that I feel like is going on in America and has been going on in America for a very long time. No justice, no peace. So let's get right into it, and I'll be right back.
What they really want from us. Every time I turn around, it's a killing. Cause being black or brown, you're the villain. What they want from us is trying to get ahead, and we end up dead or in prison. What they really want from us no justice, no justice. Oh, what they really want from us. No justice, no justice, no justice, no
It was
peace.
Freddie, Sam, Corey, Eric, Philando, Ahmad, Steven, Kenneth, Amadou, Jonathan, Christian, Terrace, Sean. Killed him a day before his wedding. Jamal killed him while he was in handcuffs. Mike killed him while he had his hands up. Kamani, Ramali, Philip, Alton. About 3 Kevins, about 2 Jordans. John, Laquan, Bathon, Stefan, Tony, Tamir, Elijah, Antoine, Giselle, Terrell, Dauntre, Akai, George. For him, set the country on fire. Timothy, Patrick, Paul, Tyree, Quintonio, Darius, Jeremy, William, Anthony, Dante, Oscar, Kendrick, Keith, Daisy, Walter, women like Sandra, Betty, Brianna, India, Michelle, Tatiana, Tanisha, Rika, Natasha, Pamela, Janet, Megan, Corinne, baby Ayan. All that we lost, your name live on. Wasn't killed by a cop, but I can't forget Trayvon. Can't forget Emmett. And
Yo, so we back.
this game.
Yeah, no, Robert, I had seen that, and that is something that I do want to discuss this morning. There's actually a couple things that I want to get into, but first, before we get in, you know what? Actually, let's get into feeding our futures first, man, because I feel like this is an important story, and something that needs to be talked about and should have been talked about a very long time ago. So I want to get into this. Right here is Deanna Winter. We brought her up before. I've talked about her. She is a very good independent journalist. So this morning you see 8:36 this morning, and that's the crazy thing. Minnesota is making national attention for all the fucking wrong reasons. So I want to sit here and I want to go over this because there's some deep information. So breaking news, a juror in the Feeding Our Future case was contacted last night, and the prosecutor has just asked that the jurors be sequestered when they begin deliberations after closings today and had their phones all be confiscated immediately. The juror has been excused, and now lawyers are talking about how they should each be questioned about whether they've been contacted by anyone during this trial. Prosecutor Joe Thompson says the juror was offered a bag full of cash last night, called 911, and it's in the custody of Spring Lake Park Police. It was left at her house, and the FBI will retrieve. The judge is ordering all defendants' cell phones be freezed for possible search. The trial is going on break while attorneys confer. A woman driving a Mazda went to the juror's house, prosecutor Joe Thompson said, and the juror wasn't home, but her father-in-law was there. And the woman gave him a bag full of cash with rolls of hundreds and fifties and said there will be another bag tomorrow. Wow. Man, if people are not seeing what the fuck is going, that's what's crazy, right? So it's beyond ridiculous to me that we have so much, like, how do we trust our judicial system? How do we trust our justice system when our lives, our accountability, our justice depends on people that can be swayed by money? Because here's the thing of it is, right? I'll tell you right now, and we're going to get into it because I'm really pissed off today. I'm really fucking mad, right? And I've been sitting here since I got home Saturday night, is how do I put this anger and put it into some, bless up, Mike, and put it into productivity, right? How do I take this anger and take it into a blessing instead of people be like, oh, he's hard to work with. So I figured it out, right? It's the year 2024, year of the truth. So let's start talking about truth, right? Because it's crazy that Ryan Lundgren charges were dismissed this morning. We're dismissed, and we're going to play her. I know it's still going live, so I kind of wanted it to let Mary get her little thing out so we could break down the whole video, right? But there's a lot of things that I want to get into. You know, I definitely want to get into Operation Hug the Block, because that is something that is dear to my heart. And actually, you know what? We can get into that right now. But there was a lot that happened on Operation Hug the Block that was it shouldn't have happened, first of all. And honestly, I don't know what to do when it comes to it. It's a work in progress, right? But know this, that we're not giving up. It just made us want to go harder. But let me be quiet. And you guys, there's Pam Allendorf.
Who is he? You know, here we all came.
So this is from Saturday, Operation Hug the Block on 36th and Penn. That's Danny, Marcus, Tim. So I'll speak after the video.
Hey, what's going on, fam? What's going on? What's happening? We're out here in North Minneapolis here on 30th and Penn Avenue right here, setting up here with Operation Hug the Block. Out here with a representative, a Republican representative. She came out with me. She wanted to see what was going on, wanted to see what was happening. Hold on one second. I'm going to flip this around so you can see Representative Pam Allendorf here. Hold on one second. Free food, free gift cards, free cigarettes.
So where you getting that stuff from?
Okay, not at $15 a pack. Crazy, I'm not even spending.
So, Marcus, go ahead and let the people know what you're doing out here, what's going on.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Marcus X. Smith. I'm the executive director and co-founder of Black Lives and Streets Protect Our Babies. But this summer, we're starting today. Is June 1st. Is our initial kickoff of Operation Hug the Block, which is a 90-day initiative. We are going to tackle the 12 most dangerous neighborhoods in Minneapolis. And we're going to spend a week on those blocks trying to bring community together and offer resources for a lot of our youth, because as we look around, a lot suffer from drug addiction, homelessness. There's a lot of gang violence, a lot of shootings that go on that we're trying to prevent, but we're also trying to bring resources so we can help give other options and ways. So what we're going to do, we're going to be moving around. We want to offer other organizations with the resources to come out here and bless the community. And that's how we do it. We do it with community, but at the same time, we want to make sure that everybody get involved and everybody try to basically just do what you can to help make our community better, you know? But this is Operation Hug the Block. Today is the first day of the initiative. And as you can see, we just out here hugging the block. I done gave out a lot of hugs today. Feel good.
Air hugs, real hugs.
There he is.
A lot of air hugs.
A lot of air hugs. Y'all know this man right here.
Right. Next week, I want people to know we'll be at 12th and Lake Street. We'll be over in South Minneapolis. This week, we're in North Minneapolis. Next week, we'll be in South. We're going to do this one block at a time, and we're going to pick the hottest, the most dangerous spots in Minneapolis, because that's where people need they're disfranchised, they're silenced, and they're unheard, and we need them to be heard because we need change.
13th and Lake. Next Saturday.
Well, tell them a little bit about this corner, though, man.
Well, right now, the corner is where Anaya lost her life. That's a little 6-year-old girl that got shot by a stray bullet, got kind of caught in the middle of a crossfire of some dispute around here, and it took a long time for the community to get down to the bottom of it. But she's not the first person to get shot. It's been probably like 3-4 murders over here since then, and probably numerous people. It was a mass shooting over here. We had Resurrection Inc. up here passing out old expired oatmeal cookies. Thought they was doing something for our community, passing out these old watered down ass flyers with a concept that don't even mean shit to our youth. And then they leave, and then 2 hours later, there's a mass shooting. Help me make that make sense. Y'all just got paid to do some violent interrupters work. Probably got paid $40 an hour. You sit in our community and get poor black kids spoiled rotten ass Halloween cookies, and then dip, and then it's mass shooting.
It's the Democrats. It's Democrats' failed policy. They feel that passing out more money and pushing an agenda of the liberals to think that, oh yeah, we're just gonna listen to them. We're just gonna listen. We ain't gonna listen to Black Lives. Don't listen to Black Lives in the streets. Y'all ain't gonna get no answers. Because really, we showed y'all the answers. We showed y'all the answers in 2021. Y'all still having community meets about what do we do? Black Lives in the streets showed y'all what to do. Prepare with us.
Well,
That's why we about to get the bag.
Well, speaking of liberal policies, with everything that's going on right now, if you don't mind, go ahead.
Representative Pam Altendorf. I'm from the Red Wing, Minnesota area, and I was invited here to hug the block, and I wanted to show my support here that, you know, we all can agree, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, Republican or Democrat, that there is just too much violence, too much crime happening here in Minnesota. And sometimes it just takes one person to make a difference. And I wanted to come here to show my support that anything we do to join hands, to be together, and to stop violence here in Minnesota, in my mind, is a win-win. And we need more people stepping up and doing this and doing exactly what these folks are doing here. So I commend them for their efforts, and I appreciate that we're making an effort to reduce crime here.
Yeah, awesome.
That was awesome. That's how we're doing it, by the Constitution. We're the people.
We the people.
Exactly. Hey, young man. He's part of Operation Hug the Block. Why don't you go ahead and tell me your name and let me know what you're doing out here.
Hi, my name is Danny Reynolds. I'm part of Operation Hug the Block. I've been employed for Men in Black. I also do a lot of community work. We feed the homeless. We have an exercise program for the youth. Basically today, Operation Hug the Block initiative, we're out here trying to stop the violence and get everybody involved so we can stop the violence in our own community.
Appreciate that, man. So we're out here on, like I said, one of the most dangerous areas in North Minneapolis, and that is Penn. That is Penn and 36th is where we're at.
So a few hours after this video was taken, there was some shit that went down, sadly, but that's the way that it is. You know what I'm saying? It's sad. So I want to show you guys. I want to share this tab instead. A man literally lost his life in front of us. There go City Councilwoman Vita. Well, we did have an event. They all probably should have showed up. Maybe they would have actually seen it happen. Lisa Clemens and them showed up about 7 minutes after the murder with their shirts on, boots on the ground. We did have Operation Hug the Block. If they would have showed up, they would have seen him get killed right there. No answers, no solutions, but passing out more money. These violent interrupters. I guess they weren't at the right place at the right time, on the right day at the right time. They showed just in front of Cub Foods, like 25 of them. They was just in front of Cub Foods, living their best life, got them a nice little free check, but ain't nobody over here with a problem at. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't have no solutions. Their solution is to pass out more of our money.
She been loud.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they only showed up. It's too late. It's too late. Yeah, they been left.
Man,
they showed up quick.
That shit.
Left quick.
It's true. Don't get mad at us for telling the truth.
Yeah, if they would have came out here today, if they would have came out here, they would have seen it. They would have seen it.
Like Ellison. So you
heard real shit. On my mom,
they don't
we know that, though.
What he said at the last city council member.
Detail, you know we fuck with you, but you know we fuck with you.
Crazy.
Turn your camera out, because me and you got.
See how she didn't want to be caught up.
I don't even want to talk no more.
No.
Right.
Because we ain't even. I thought we was better than that. Because I don't even understand.
You got family business. Turn the thing off.
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
How about we meet in your office?
Whenever. You know my number. You know how to reach
I don't
me.
understand, right?
I don't understand why I can't go to a game and just have fun.
No,
what do you mean?
Because
I had a little post. I was just talking shit because like I just referred. We was just we gonna come talk shit, but we out that way.
I saw y'all walk around the thing, but I went inside the Target Center. Y'all had your little girl with you.
No,
And
see
I saw
that?
Ashley.
See, but can't say come say hi.
I wasn't in a position to. Oh, is Ashley down there? I'm gonna say hi to her.
But we just want to know, right?
You want to know what?
We just want to know, like, how can we get involved?
Down there.
She swears she loved my wife.
All the money that's being floated.
I'm the safest person.
Swears she loved my wife.
Hold on.
Make sure they say.
I want to answer that question about that money.
Oh, hold on. I'm gonna take a picture of it.
How bad? $15 for cigarettes. I want to show you guys another video that is from, you know, the crazy part. So here's the video I want to show you guys. Well, hold on. I gotta put trigger warning up on this because you guys are going to see I'm just gonna say y'all gonna see somebody bleeding, man. Somebody taking their last breaths. Shit, I don't know any other way how to put this wholeheartedly.
Yeah, y'all just tell them to breathe, man.
Here they come. Damn, he coming.
Is he still breathing? He got a pulse?
Did you hear that?
That's the crazy part for me, right? Because literally sitting there trying to figure out, look at that. You can see them right there going through the niggas' pockets, bro. And that was the hardest part because as soon as we started saying shit, niggas spun off, man. And that's what's sick to me is that they literally took this man's shit when he was on the ground, dying. This is the type of shit that we go for. And what baffles me is literally asking people of who were the people that went through the pockets and nobody wanted to talk, man. We didn't see nothing. We didn't see nothing. And it's like, that's bullshit because yes, y'all did. And this is why we don't get no accountability. We don't get none. We don't get no justice because nobody ever wants to talk.
Who got it? Who did this to this man? Hey, get ambulance. Oh my God. You want to No water. You need to be talking to him.
Man, they let him have it, bro. They hit him, they fired twice. And then they went boom, boom, boom. Inside about 5 seconds.
Please, y'all, hurry up.
And we need everybody to back up. Where's he hit? Right here. He got one right here. Hey, what's the heat? You think it should have hit?
I'm trying to.
Not hitting the head. Deep breathe, baby. Deep breathe. We'll make sure he doesn't have any other shots. I got you.
No, it's not easy to watch. It's not easy to see. Imagine being there in person, and there's nothing that you can do beyond call 911. I will say that I will say this, right? Because I did write something up, and I want people to hear me, right? Because this shit is ridiculous, man. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. The shit that we are going through is ridiculous. Is ridiculous. Is ridiculous. And why? Why? Why do we keep on going through this? Why we keep on putting up with basic, falling for the spank? Why do we keep on putting up with basic, falling for the same shit, can't face it? Why we keep on contemplating, never speaking up? Why our community put up with these games, thinking it'll change? But it's all the same. DFL be lying straight to our faces. Only act right during election races. Why we keep coming back to this? Gotta break the cycle. Can't reminisce. Easy to see the truth. They ain't no good. Tell me, community. Let's be understood. Somebody tell me why. Why we keep on believing, begging, hoping, praying for change, still dreaming. Gotta rise up, make a stand and fight for our future, for our kids, for what's right. When are we gonna stand up? That's all I want to know. When we're gonna stand up? Because I'm gonna show y'all something that, and I'm not done talking. I'm not done. So this is Minnesota safe streets, right? These people talk about they're not paid. They're not out here for that. They're not out here for this. They're not out here for that. Get the fuck out of here, man. It's always something, right? But they can be out there for the police. They can be out there for these people yesterday were literally Jerry McAfee. These same fucking people were sitting there for, and I feel bad about Officer Mitchell. I really do. I really do feel bad about Officer Jamal Mitchell. But what about my community? Because don't nobody give a fuck when we got 2-year-olds dying from fentanyl overdoses. Where are y'all at when they dying from overdoses, fentanyl overdoses? In shelters that are ran by the city and the state that get funding. We got people, that's what I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand, man. And then I'm telling you, when you hear, actually, you know what? Fuck that. I don't even care how it might not be over with yet, and I don't think it is. But I'm about to play this because Mary says some really important shit that I think people really need to listen to, because we just heard about feeding our future and jurors being. I want you to hear this.
Last week, several members of our community and 2 police officers, also members of our community, were the victims of gun violence. MPD officer Jamal Mitchell was shot and killed as he tried to render first aid at the scene of a mass shooting. 1 person was killed and 2 others are hospitalized with life-threatening injuries.
It wasn't a mass shooting when Jamal.
Every day in our community, people live with the trauma of continued gun violence. Once again, we mourn for those lost and injured by horrific acts of gun violence and for their families and loved ones. Once again, We hear politicians talk of heroic first responders and sternly tell us that this must never happen again. But we know it will. We know it will because it has.
Right.
And we have done very little to address the systemic issues that enable it to continue to happen.
Talk about it, Mary.
Less than 2 weeks ago, the country marked the 4-year anniversary of George Floyd's murder.
Let's not reminisce.
I was dismayed that no one mentioned Ricky Cobb II, a black man who was killed by a white trooper from the Minnesota State Patrol during a traffic stop. 4 years ago, we heard politicians promise to invest.
Wait a minute. She got a fucking very good point. She has a very good point of that. You know, during these anniversaries of people that have been lost, you know, to police violence, we should be remembering the people that we are currently fighting for, right? Because out of sight, out of mind. And this is, we let Ricky become so political that it came down to this. And we have to look at the activists around that case. And I'm going to call them activists because I'm not an activist, right? I don't want to talk to the media. Fuck that. I don't want to do none of that, right? And that's the one thing that I really, I struggle with, right? Because, you know, we just had a whole event. And that's one thing that Jamal, who, you know, started Operation Hug the Black out in Philly and who came actually out here to be with us, you know, to start it. He was like, where's the media? And that's one thing that I have a hard time with, because the media doesn't care about stories like this. Because it's not things that people don't click on news stories to read feel-good media. We don't click on stories to feel good. We read on stories so that we can feel bad about something, or that we can read something that's gonna, right? You know what I'm saying? It's not, we don't, that's, oh, it just frustrates me, man. And it's like, when are we gonna realize?
Invest in genuine systemic change in policing to prevent police violence against community members. Yet what changes have we actually seen? Time after time after time, our Black community is told there can be no criminal accountability because of system barrier after system barrier after system barrier. And they rightfully ask leaders, what are you going to do about those system barriers? Heated debates about minor policy changes ensue until the next Black man is shot by police. And the family and the community is told once again this about the system barriers preventing criminal accountability. The same barriers that were there last time. This morning, I am here to talk about some of those system barriers in the context of the shooting of Mr. Cobb.
I want people to hear this very closely. Right? I want people to listen to this very, very closely, right? Because before Lund was even ever questioned, she offered him immunity to come in and to talk about what happened, right? Immunity. So it's funny to me that he believing that Ricky was reaching for his gun doesn't come out until just a couple of months ago at the last court hearing. So for me, I don't know what to believe anymore, right? And I'm going to be 100% honest, and none of us should really, we need to dig deeper. And I hope that these people actually come out and get justice for Ricky Cobb, because we're not going to get it, and we're going to lose another Black man. We're going to lose another Black man.
Again. My intent is that leaders here in this state find the political courage to remove these systemic barriers. I first want to acknowledge the Cobb family. They continue to grieve a devastating loss amid a political circus that has repeatedly tried to center Mr. Londergan as the victim. The defense team, paid for by the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association, encouraged over 100 supporters to be bussed in handed out free support Londrigan t-shirts, and created a gauntlet downstairs that the Cobb family was forced to walk through to get to court. Some of them taunted Ricky Cobb's twin brother, Rashad. Members of our staff were frightened at the spectacle, which reminded them of January 6th. How is this behavior acceptable? How is that behavior acceptable? Where is our humanity for the Cobb family? Where is the respect for the trauma that they and the community suffered? Because make no mistake, Ricky Cobb was the victim in this case. Ricky Cobb should be alive today. And that makes our inability to move forward even more difficult for Mr. Cobb's family and for our community. And for that, I'm deeply sorry. In January, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office charged Mr. Londrigan with the death of Ricky Cobb based on our review of the evidence that existed at the time. This includes the BCA investigation, which was hampered by the refusal of members of the Minnesota State Patrol to participate in interviews. We saw the videos of the incident placed in a format allowing simultaneous comparison of the 3 body cams and the dash cam. And we reviewed supplementary witness statements made in the grand jury investigation. We believed then, and we believe now, based on that evidence, we made the correct decision to charge Mr. Londrigan. In fact, several weeks ago, the defense withdrew their motion challenging probable cause. So as it stood Friday before we made this decision, we have a clear path to trial. And the easiest political decision for me would be to go forward. But we have chosen not to do that. And I'm going to be talking to you about why. There's been much speculation about why we brought in a firm from out of state to prosecute the case. The truth is that these cases are considered by many prosecutors across the country to be, quote, career killers because of the potential retaliation against them by law enforcement. In fact, before I got to the office, it happened that our prosecutors who prosecuted law enforcement, some of them received threats and were retaliated by law enforcement. And so prosecutors across the country, including here, fear they cannot do their jobs because of retaliation by law enforcement. None of this is acceptable. The Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association, MPPOA, the same organization that opposed a rule which would prohibit law enforcement from belonging to white supremacy groups, paid for 3 private lawyers to represent Mr. Londrigan. And he has a right to a good defense. We were frequently peppered with motions with little or no basis in law or simply factually inaccurate. But we still had to respond to this manufactured busy work. I've mentioned that we are down staff, particularly in our adult prosecution unit. So we were not able to assign the number of prosecutors and staff needed to respond to these tactics. One of our experienced prosecutors said he had never seen anything like this before. The same day we announced charges, the defense posted a video attacking me personally as being out of control and declaring that there was a war on law enforcement, which was going to end in this case. I felt personally threatened by that video, but as the case went on, I came to realize that their strategy essentially was to use scorched earth tactics to attempt to intimidate anybody involved in this case or anyone who might consider trying to hold a police officer accountable in the future. And this is a strategy that's being used across the country, which I know from talking to prosecutor colleagues. One expert in this case said that he felt personally threatened by the defense. An example of their motions, one of them, you remember they accused me of prosecutorial misconduct for misusing the grand jury process. They claimed falsely that we asked the grand jury to make a decision to indict, and when they didn't indict, we just charged the case ourselves. That never happened. It never happened. They quietly withdrew that motion once it no longer served their purpose, but that got buried. That got buried after it was the lead. It was after headlines because of the governor's involvement, which I'll talk about later. Some people said, well, why didn't you ask other prosecutors' offices in the state? And the truth is they are very short-staffed. When we have conflict cases, we often have to figure out which other office can handle it because they just don't have the capacity. And this includes Ramsey County. No one else we contacted in Minnesota wanted to be the recipient of the defense attacks that they knew would come along with this case. Now, that could have been the end of it, not being able to find anybody in Minnesota who wanted to be the subject of these continued attacks. But we didn't give up. We didn't give up at that time because we believed we had rightfully charged him and that we had a case which we could prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So we brought in the attorneys from the Steptoe law firm, all of whom had been federal prosecutors at one time. We provided them with all of the information that we had at the time. After their review of that information, they agreed that it was appropriate to charge Mr. Londrigan in the death of Ricky Cobb. So they did agree, and let me make that clear, for former federal prosecutors agreed that it was appropriate to charge Mr. Londrigan. But we also told the defense team at that time, and from the beginning of this case, that we would review any new information that they wanted to provide us. And this is an offer that we make in every single case we charge in this office. This is part of my commitment to transparency, accountability, and justice. All investigations are ongoing, even at times during trial. When new evidence becomes available, we evaluate our cases based on that new information. When I became Hennepin County Attorney, I emphasized to our staff that ethical prosecution is constantly assessing our cases and evaluating whether we can or should continue to move forward. In the last weeks, the defense has presented 4 witness declarations containing new information. And for the very first time in court, revealed the substance of Mr. Londrigan's prospective testimony. So what they said in court about what Mr. Londrigan would say if he testified, and I'm just going to talk about 2 parts of it. One was this, that Mr. Londrigan shot Ricky Cobb because Mr. Londrigan feared that Mr. Cobb was reaching for Mr. Londrigan's gun. I want to make it clear here because there was a misstatement in the press. No one's ever said, the troopers have never said that they were aware of any gun in Ricky Cobb's car.
Thank you.
Or that he was trying to reach for that gun.
Thank you, that too.
That gun that was found in the car well after this
right,
happened
in the back
is
seat.
irrelevant to this.
Thank you.
What Londrigan's attorneys said he would testify to was that he thought Mr. Cobb was reaching for his gun, Londrigan's gun.
Wow.
That's something that they had never said before, never told us before.
Wow.
So we went back and we looked at the video over and over in slow motion. And what you can see from the video is that Mr. Cobb's hand at some point does come up. My guess, by the way, is that because Londrigan opened the door, pointed the gun at him and started screaming at him, that his hand was coming up to protect himself. But the video doesn't prove that, and it doesn't disprove what Londrigan says. One of the other things that I think is of note of what Londrigan's lawyers say he would testify to is this. If you slow down the video, you will be able to see, and I think at some point we'll be able to release this, Saidi reaches into the car and he is essentially draped across Mr. Cobb, trying to unbuckle the seatbelt.
Because I'm going to
What
continue saying this,
Londrigan's
but
lawyer
there-
said he would
there's
testify
the videos
to
already
is that
up.
in that split second, he realized his partner was draped over Mr. Cobb, and he carefully fired 2 shots into Mr. Cobb's torso so that he wouldn't hit his partner. Now, as to the believability of that, I won't comment. But I will be talking about how that did change our perspective here. The declarations that we got from state trooper trainers, which we hadn't seen before, went to their training and lack thereof. And I'm going to get to that later on too. It was frustrating to learn of this new evidence so far into the case because the defense had so many opportunities to provide us with it. We even offered Trooper Londgren immunity to come on in and tell us his story with the agreement that we would not use that statement if we decided to go ahead with trial. The Steptoe lawyers called that agreement, they call it in DC apparently, Queen for a Day. And it simply means, Londgren, come on in, tell us what you have to say about this so that we can consider it when deciding whether to charge. And if we decide to go forward, we won't use the statement that you made. He refused. He refused to do that, which was his right. But we also didn't know what he was going to say.
So I want to show the actual video of the 16, well, about 16 seconds. So this is the video right here. You see?
Get out. Yell to her now! Out. Yell to her!
You just see, that's all you see is him raise his hands. How is he reaching for Lundgren's gun? I don't get that. Can y'all tell me?
Get out. Yell to her now! Out. Yell to her!
He just raises his hand. That's it. It's crazy what they're able to get away with. It's ridiculous.
So we certainly talked extensively about how improbable some of Mr. Londgren's assertions were, especially coming so late in the process and with access to all of the videos. We also talked about the barriers, the reality of the fact that many of the law enforcement witnesses in this case got lawyers, even people who had no or were not subject to any criminal liability at all. And they were represented by the same pool of lawyers funded by MPPOA. So many would say, why not cross-examine Mr. Londgren and argue to the jury that he wasn't being truthful? Once an officer says that he used deadly force to prevent imminent great bodily harm or death to himself or others, we then, the burden shifts to us beyond a reasonable doubt, the highest standard in the system, to prove that that was not true. And the expert witnesses in use of force cases focus pretty much only on those seconds when the shots happened and what a reasonable officer could have perceived. So when we got this information, we had to assess what it meant for the case. And we took the new evidence to a use of force expert whose analysis led us to include that based on that new evidence, we would no longer be able to succeed at trial. So why is that? And why wouldn't we just go forward? What happens in trials is this: we present our case. And because the defense had the, what we call affirmative defense, in other words, they were saying, yes, we did shoot and kill Ricky Cobb, but we had a legal excuse. And that legal excuse was justified use of deadly force. And so we were going to have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that that wasn't the case. Now, we would put on our case, the defense would put on their case, and then the defense would make a motion for what's called a judgment of acquittal. In other words, judge, we're asking you to dismiss the case because No reasonable jury could believe that the prosecutor has proved its case. We do not believe we would have even made it to the jury. And so that is one of the reasons why I have made the decision not to proceed in this case. I know it's a struggle for people to understand, especially in community and especially the Cobb family. Why not go do that? You know, ethically, we can't as prosecutors, but also practically, we know we're not going to get a conviction in this case. And what would that mean? That would mean that, you know, once again, community would say the system didn't work, and you know, Mr. Londergan and MPPOA would be able to talk about, hey, there was a jury verdict. And we then would not really be able to talk as effectively about the systemic barriers that set that up to happen. And so going to trial would also have been a setup here for everyone involved, instead of having the very real, candid conversation about why we need to break down these barriers so that we do not have these issues in every case. I want to acknowledge the team who worked on this case, who experienced threats to their safety.
You know what? I want to say this before I continue with Mary, is that I appreciate the fact that you're coming out and talking about the systemic issues that was wrong with this case. But if we can't get state representatives and state senators to make those actual changes, you did this all for nothing. And honestly, I will say it like this, is that you, Mary, fell into the hands of political games. You know, I'm not a lawyer. I will say this, right? But if you believe that you had enough to go to trial, regardless, and you know what the crazy thing of it is I think for me is it's all about a story, right? It's all about who can tell the best story. And I think that's what scared Mary, is what scared her, is that the fact that she couldn't defend what they were going to say with Ricky putting up his hand, because there's no one to say anything. He can't say anything because he's not here. And they use that to their advantage. They used that to their advantage because it couldn't have been, maybe it wasn't him trying to get Lundgren's gun. Maybe it was because the officer had his arm around him and he was trying to get it off of him. But because Ricky's here, he's not here to explain, you know, and that's the most saddest part about all of this, is that we had that. This isn't any win for us. This is another slap in the face yet again. And are we ever going to get truth or justice or accountability? You look at feeding our future. You have jurors being bribed, or for what? So they could get a non-guilty verdict, all in the name of politics. And that's crazy to me. Why do we even use juries anymore? Like, this don't even make any fucking sense to me. It doesn't. Because we go off of feeling. It doesn't, the court system isn't about truth. It's not about justice. It's not about transparency. It ain't about none of that, because she literally offered Mr. Lundgren immunity, which means that anything that is said in there, she could not use against him. So why not, to put all of this to bed, why not come in there and state that? Because that's not what happened. That's not what you thought, Ryan. And that's sad as hell to me. That's sad. It's sick as fuck. And and it's sad because they're using all of this at a time where our community needs to heal and be able to trust and believe in the police department. And we can't. We can't. That's sad. Who can we trust? We can't trust the nonprofits, right? We can't trust our police departments. We can't trust our city elected officials. Who do we trust? We got to start believing in ourselves at some point. And I understand that, you know, people are scared. You think I'm not That's the crazy part. But I know this, that God is watching us, that the people that do right, God is watching, right? And he needs his soldiers to stand up. He needs his soldiers to stand up, and not these fake prophets, not the Jerry McAfees, because at the end of the day, I want to tell people this, right? They've had enough money to actually make change. The Mickey Frosts, right? The Ian Bethels, the L Flowers, the Lisa Clemens, the Jerry McAfees, the Spike Mosses. They've had their opportunities. They've had the money. And if they actually wanted to end the violence in these streets, it would have been gone. They would have moved back to the community. They would have actually helped our community grow, instead of they don't want our community there anymore. They don't want they want North Minneapolis gone. And if people don't realize that, it's a damn shame. And that's how what's so crazy is that we are so blind. We are so undereducated at everything that these people do. And because we want to listen to people who are paid and leading us in the wrong direction and want to do a lot of blind following. Yeah, that's why we get it. That's what, what's crazy is that's why they're out there handing out expired cookies and juice. And y'all are okay with it. That's what they're giving them millions of dollars for.
Safety during their investigation, and also unnecessary political attacks. No one's job should involve receiving these kinds of threats.
No, it shouldn't.
So one issue that I haven't seen talked about is the fact that we have a department, Minnesota Department of Public Safety, that is overseen by our governor. Under the umbrella of the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, we have the Minnesota State Patrol and the Bureau of Criminal Investigation or Apprehension. The BCA did the investigation in this report, or in this investigation, in this incident. The State Patrol is overseen by our governor. Our governor, who's been very active in inserting himself into this case. What I haven't seen asked a lot is, hey, Governor, don't you have a conflict here? The State Patrol provides your security detail. You oversee the State Patrol, which has some major issues with training, as I'll discuss a little bit later. The governor, at the request of MPPOA, so let me back up here. So Londrigan's defense is funded by the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association. So the defense lawyers and MPPOA have persistently asked the governor to intervene in this case. Have you ever seen this governor intervene in any case involving a defendant in his entire tenure? Ever. Why is it appropriate for a governor who has never picked up the phone to call me, who is not a lawyer, who does not understand the nuances of this case, to talk about it publicly, to center Mr. Londrigan as being the victim in this case? Why has that been appropriate? Why hasn't that been called out? Particularly in the light that you will be getting a report, which is about 60 pages long. You've gotten the summary document of that report, which is about 9 pages. It talks about the problems with training and policy by the governor's own state patrol. So one thing I want to say here, in looking, and I've looked at this video over and over and over, one thing that always struck me was this. Ricky Cobb was detained for over 20 minutes on the side of the road. And that happened in part, he was pulled over because his lights were off. He very quickly turned his lights on. And he kept asking the state troopers, what's going on? Do I have a warrant for my arrest? The troopers said, no, you don't, which was technically true. What he had is a pickup from Ramsey County. And the length of time that he sat there was because the State Patrol called Ramsey County to say, hey, do you still want this guy? Because if they didn't want him, they were going to let him go. And that hold expired sometime later that day. So in all the time, when you watch this video, Ricky Cobb, a Black man who is stopped by white patrol officers on the side of the road, has no idea why he's being detained. None. The troopers never gave him that answer. The troopers never said, Mr. Cobb, we are arresting you. Please get out of the car. They never gave him an opportunity to make that decision on his own. He could have fled, and then he would have been charged with a felony fleeing a police officer. But he was never given that chance. They knew who he was. They knew where he lived. Their policies would have indicated they could not have chased him. They could not have shot after him. Why didn't their policies say, hey, have a conversation before you approach the car about what you're going to do when you decide to arrest somebody? And by the way, tell them you're going to arrest them. Don't keep saying, hand me your keys, and have them question why. Why are you asking me after 20 minutes when my headlights were out to hand you the keys? They never gave him that opportunity. There's some who will say, hey, all you have to do is comply and you won't have a problem.
Mhm.
And I want to focus
Right.
this back to Philando Castile.
Exactly.
Complied.
Right.
And yet he's
He's
shot
dead.
and killed.
Right. And no
We
justice.
do not have summary execution or the death penalty for failure to comply. All the troopers needed to do here was to approach the car. They could have put down stop strips under the rear wheels to puncture his tires if he drove away. But all they had to do was say, Mr. Cobb, we are going to arrest you, and allow him to make the decision. Am I going to speed away, get charged later with a crime, or am I going to get out? He never, ever had that opportunity. There were other many decisions which are outlined in the report you'll be getting leading up to and during the interaction that should have gone differently. In fact, the use of force expert that we talked to after that new information said that the tactics here were absolutely horrible. Horrible. And until we as a community demand changes, systemic changes into the policies, the training, the philosophy of our law enforcement officers, this kind of thing is still going to happen. So we made this decision after consulting with Steptoe. Steptoe has written it's about 60-page report. Some of it references grand jury, and to this day, we need a court order from the judge to be able to release that. One of the things we were never able to talk about, which the defense knew. So our hope is to get that order and to release that extensive report to you, documenting everything that happened here. So, I mean, this was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. It was, on the one hand, not so hard legally, but people in our community and Ricky Cobb's family shouldn't have to listen to me or any prosecutor once again talk about the same legal barriers that prevent accountability time after time after time. My commitment to them is that we will continue to advocate for these changes, because that is the only way our community is going to heal. Thank you, and I'll take questions.
Before she gets into questions, right? I want to show y'all something, because this is what. Yeah, let me get in. Just let me share this tab instead.
You look just like me, and your lives matter.
Hold on.
So, lives matter.
All lives matter.
So as I leave here, I just want everybody to know that it doesn't matter if you're black, white, green, yellow, Asian, whatever it is.
And I hate that.
Officer,
Democrat,
your life matter, because when you take that uniform
Gator,
off, guess what?
Ian
You
Bethel.
look just like me, and your life matter, brother, whether you have on a uniform or not. And that's all that we should care about, is losing these lives, and that's making sure that we don't continue to do that. And we fight together to make sure that all lives matter.
Julie Wickland in the background. That's what's crazy, Deanna.
So as I leave here,
that's what's crazy. You have all of these fake ass people, and this is why we don't get no change, right? Because I'm going to show y'all something else. These are these same people, right? Right here. New Salem Inc., God Squad, We Push for Peace, The Mother's Love, Project Take Back, Attitude Determines Altitude, Mentoring Young Adults, 8218 Truth Center, Centered on Youth, Youth. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, let me see. 3, 7, 10 groups. And they're interrupters. That's what they said they call themselves. That's not me. So African ADOS. It's the only time you ever see them use this type of language for us. How they engage, boots on the ground, situation, none of this. Rapid response teams. They only come afterwards. Prevent escalation of violence after incident. No, they don't do that either. Let's see. Let's stop calling it grassroots. They don't. That's what's crazy. If people actually went out to these streets and talked to the community members, the shit that they're supposed to be doing, they're not doing. And you can literally ask people. That's all people got to go do is go out into the streets and ask people. Because it's not being done. It's not. If it was being done, we wouldn't have the issues that we're having. We wouldn't. So let's get into Mary asking questions.
Anybody on your staff advise against charging Lonergan in the first place?
So I would say it was an ongoing process, and it was more about how, was there any way of getting additional information? There was some concern that, when we talked to Noble, by the way, what Noble said was, I can't really give you an opinion because I don't know what Lonergan's going to say. If Lonergan says he shot to keep him from driving away, that was an unlawful use of force. If Lonergan shot to prevent imminent bodily harm or death to his partner, that could be a lawful use of force. So as with any case, we have extensive discussions about, how are we feeling about this case? How are we feeling about the training? And after the grand jury and getting some information about their training, which we thought we knew until we got these other declarations, we felt comfortable moving forward.
Okay, so as a follow-up to that, would you still have charged Lonergan if he had made a statement saying that he thought Ricky Cobb was reaching for his gun, reaching for Lonergan's gun?
Yeah, so if he had made that statement, and it wasn't only reaching for the gun, that's not the only thing here. Mm-hmm. It was also about why he shot, because as I said, one thing Noble told us was it depends. I mean, we can't assume why somebody took the action that they did. And so the other piece of it that we never knew until we appeared in court and heard this from the defense was,
this is what happens when the
he
truth
says
doesn't
he shot
always come
because
out.
he feared that his partner was in imminent danger of great bodily harm or death because he had reached into the car. Now, part of the training issue that's problematic is there didn't appear to be training saying it's not a good idea. You should not insert yourself into a moving car. But one of the issues that came up was, well, Lonergan can't be penalized for CITES bad decision-making there. So I don't know, but it certainly would have, I mean, I guess if we had received the same information we have now, then it may very well be that we would not have charged it.
Just to step back on that, though, this is not the first time that a police officer in a case like this or a law enforcement officer has made a statement saying, I feared for my life, feared great bodily harm. I mean, it comes up in every case.
Yes.
And it's
Right.
The way that you're constructing this, it's like it's new evidence, like it's a surprise that the law enforcement officer would make a statement like this. I mean, if they had this trump card in their pocket all along, why even charge the case?
Well, how do we presuppose what somebody, I mean, theoretically, a person should be telling us honestly why they did something, right? We can't just presume, oh, they're going to say this. And there was a significant component of training here. And this is part of the systemic change that needs to happen. there were many, many bungled opportunities here. There was also, and some of this I can't get into very much because of the grand jury, but they had some training on extraction from a car. They didn't follow that training at all. And so it's difficult for us. We're looking at the totality of circumstances. We're looking at the fact that none of this would have happened except for the environment that the troopers created. And one of the issues, as you said, is none of these protections apply to ordinary community members, right? Community members who are claiming self-defense or something like that cannot be the first aggressor. They have to retreat. There are all kinds of things that protect police officers. And so it's a different analysis. But when we looked at this, considering all of what we thought the training was, and also going back and realizing that the State Patrol trainers were not cooperative, not all of them. And they did not, that we had to convene a grand jury to actually get them to hear what their statements were. And one of the things Noble wanted was more about their training. He wanted to know, were they trained about extraction? So you can use some training in the determination of what happened here. But ultimately with the declarations, we learned that when those people that made the declarations were going to say they followed their training, it was very hard then. You can't hold an officer criminally liable because they have bad training, because they weren't trained, don't put yourself in a moving car, because they weren't trained, hey, you can put the stop sticks under the rear wheels. Because one of the things we heard at some point here was we couldn't put stop sticks in front of the car because it would have endangered our lives. And the expert that we consulted after the fact said, just put them under the back wheels. So the fact that there were many, many, many other alternatives here don't matter under the law.
What did the county attorney's office think the training looked like before the investigation, and how does it compare to other law enforcement agencies?
And that's where much of that came up in the grand jury transcript, which I can't talk about at the moment, but that will be laid out. That is laid out in depth once we can get that released. I think in one of the recommendations too is that the training and policies about what officers do or troopers do before the use of deadly force cannot be completely separated from every other policy. In fact, you cannot create the conditions that allow you to then claim, oh, I was afraid. But they are completely separate, and that's problematic.
Given all these systemic issues that you're taking with the training of the State Patrol, I mean, I assume that your office gets some cases that involve State Patrol.
Yes.
Is your analysis going to change, or in terms of how you how much trust you put in law enforcement statements and their ability to do their job?
Yeah, I mean, with State Patrol, we have had some conversations with them. They seem open. And certainly we're going to be having conversations about, hey, look at these recommendations, and can we offer our help in really revising some of these critical policies and the training that comes from that. There's a new colonel there. We've had some conversations with her. So my hope is that they will, in good faith, engage and look internally and really think about this. And I think this is a fundamental problem with all of law enforcement, that they are trained to control. They are trained for compliance, right? And so one of the interesting things in one of the troopers' statements, they were asked if there were any other alternatives here, and he never said, I could have let him go. I could have let him go, because I don't think officers are trained to think that way. There seemed to be, two alternatives. He was going to get out of the car, or I was going to rip him out of the car. Not, we knew exactly who he was. We weren't going to chase him. We would just go pick him up. That seems to have never occurred to the troopers in this case. I think understandably, because that is not how police are trained to think about these situations. And I think they need to be. They need to understand that both they and the person they're interacting with should both go home at night. Because the officers, frankly, put themselves in jeopardy here. There was no reason to put themselves into the car, but they did that. They did that. And we don't want that either. We don't want officers putting themselves in danger of injury, but they have to be told, there have to be policies, there have to be training that it is okay, acceptable, and expected that in some situations, let the person go.
Can you give us an idea of the cost and the amount of time spent by Steptoe, what the dollar figure would be from their help? And also with that, was creating these recommendations, was that part of the deal? Like, was that in the contract something they were supposed to do?
No. In fact, I had every when we, and I don't know what the number is now. We'll get that too. But here's how the process went. We retained Steptoe, sent them a bunch of documents. Because the first thing was, did they think our charges were appropriate? That was the first thing. Because if they said no, that contract was done, right? So they looked at the materials that we sent them. They decided that our charging was appropriate. And then they put in, as you know, not a certificate of representation, but they became the lawyers of record. And so no, at no point did I ever expect, we didn't hire them to do, here, we're going to dismiss, here's an independent, I want you to do an independent investigation of what happened here. That is not how this went. They appeared on the record. We all expected to go forward at trial. But then when we got this information, we had an ethical obligation to look at it. It was after we got that information that we then consulted this other expert. So our own expert, given that information, was saying, we just can't go forward. So we had that conversation. As you know, and I've said this in the past, I retained full responsibility and accountability for deciding whether to go forward. Steptoe made a recommendation to me. I accepted that recommendation. And then we talked about, hey, there were so many problems here, really systemic problems as well, that they then worked on this report. The report is meant to outline everything that happened here, but also to give us steps forward. Because I can't stand up here again and say, this is the way it is. This is the way it's always going to be. There are these system barriers, without saying we are going to fight to try to make sure that some of these system barriers are changed. So that agencies like state troopers, if this comes up again, they handle it very differently. And the next Ricky Cobb isn't the next Ricky Cobb.
Mary, why the comments about
Eric?
Yeah. Sure. County Attorney, you made mention about these alleged threats that came into your team during this case. Did that lead to some in your office not wanting to handle this case? Is that why you looked outside? Because of those threats, you reached out to Steptoe?
That was a part of it. It's also a part of it that, who wants to be, people who work in this office, many of them are career prosecutors. They're here for the work. Nobody wants to be put there out on social media with their pictures subject to all of the attacks that we get, that I get. And then having the governor weigh in and question our staff's integrity, nobody wants to be the subject of that. So it was a combination of all of that, and a combination of, as I said, people fear retaliation from police. And by that, I mean slow walking cases. I don't mean, physical harm. What I mean is they don't work up the cases. That has happened in this office. I didn't know that until I got here, and I was told that. It's a passive aggressive, we're not going to help you because you worked on this case. And that's unacceptable. But that is a fear that many in the office have. And it's not a fear isolated to our office. I have talked to my county DA counterparts across the country, and they experience it as well, which is one of the reasons why some of them have created a separate team to handle these cases with lawyers that don't have to work with law enforcement every day.
But what about the government?
Yeah, Mary, just on the timing here. I mean,
Yeah.
I do understand certainly the optics of what this community is grieving right now with law enforcement.
Yes.
Was that part of your calculus? We're curious about sort of the Sunday night release. Why now?
Yeah.
Why right now? And then where you go to rebuild community trust on both sides here.
Yep.
The next time tragic one of these cases are going to be presented, either side
Yep.
buys into you right now.
Yeah, the timing of it, the report, like I said, it's about 60 pages long. It had nothing to do with the tragic murder of Jamal Mitchell and other community members. And so I'm going to say this. I said, we as leaders and our political leaders, I don't understand why we consistently say we have brave first responders who have to run into these situations when we as policymakers could do something about that. We could do something about the gun violence that impacts first responders. And the other piece of this, given the timing, is that we can hold two things. That yes, there have been increased assaults on law enforcement. And we had the tragic situation in Burnsville and now what happened last week. But we can't get sucked into this narrative of there is a war on law enforcement. We have to be able to also say, hey, we need to have accountability with police as well.
Thank you.
So no, it has nothing to do with that timing. Also, I was elected by the people in Hennepin County to make ethical, courageous
Because let me. I
decisions.
was about to say something, but let me.
I would say that,
quiet.
and we already have said to law
Let me be
enforcement,
quiet.
the easiest thing I could have done was to go ahead and try this case. That would have made them happy. I'm not saying that. But if for those who say this was a political decision, absolutely not. I think I've made it very clear in my tenure as county attorney, I don't make political decisions. I make the ethical decision at the time. And so what I would say to everybody is, I think, this is the kind of county attorney everybody wanted. Not one that made decisions based on politics, but one that made decisions about the information we had at the time, who is willing to look and see additional information. As I said, I've told our staff, there's no shame. It's not a bad thing.
What's crazy is you're so correct, Ben. It seems like it's so much easier to blame it on, again, the system instead of us actually getting accountability. Right now,
I want to hear like all the reasoning.
this
Are
is
you done?
Jonathan Mason, and they are at the Hennepin County Government Center.
Yeah, and it has everything on it.
But I just need to take it, not that we expect, but and
I guess they're talking to Mary Mortar. I think that's her voice.
Yeah, what's the why? State Troopers training is still up in Alexandria. Is that where it's still training? Why? I'm hearing what y'all saying. I spent time up at Alexandria as a girl, so I know that firsthand. So when it's time for me to do my first amendment, I don't mind state troopers. I got a clear record.
Crying out loud.
So I just do my bill.
We watching all three body cameras. The public only got one. The family had 6 because there's 3 squad cars there, plus 3 individuals that got cameras. So we watched 6 different angles. And the colonel said to slow it down, back it up, if they miss anything. We know for a fact the car wasn't moving before the shots was fired. Adrenaline pushed that car forward.
That's the only thing that's like. No.
Ain't no deals.
Why is it always got to be civil, man? That's what I'm saying. Why we got to be? What about justice? Why is it always about money? It's not accountability. It's not justice.
Go chill your stuff. Put 3, 4 in the air tonight. Because I am.
I want to see it once. I didn't see it repeatedly. I don't need to see it. My son's gone. Case closed. Okay. When he came past the state trooper, he stopped. Lights were off. I get you that one. When the police approached him, his foot was on the brake because his tail lights was illuminated. Usually it's put the car in park. Shut the car off. So if training is that bad,
they never asked.
Why are we paying taxpayers dollars that we can't get answers for?
It's the law.
I might as well just go ahead and say, you know what? I'm a more. I would change all this stuff.
Hey, guess what? And they have a path for you to do it. And then when you do something, you won't have the rights. I know. This is the reality.
Bad system, man.
I can't get a fair trial.
Don't even make yourself crazy. Think about it, man. You know what? You know, I know.
So basically, right now, they basically just telling the family to go get the money from the civil suit because they know it's still not gonna happen. That's what I take out of
That's
it.
what I'm talking about. Why do you want to talk about a civil suit when we ain't got no hands on no pipes? I'm talking about if I walk out of this motherfucker right now, they're gonna shoot somebody down. Right?
You going to jail?
I'm going to jail.
Yeah.
But you keep telling me what cops can do and we can do. The Constantine. We waiting at. We pay for it.
So, but I think that those are rhetorical questions. I think the question would be this. This would be kind of what's the next step? What's the next step? Would it be civil? Would it go straight to civil? Is there any more court dates? Are there any more court dates for him, or that's all done?
Not on criminal, but the civil case.
Can go for it. Okay. And this is what we talked about. The civil has to go for it. I would go right today, get going right on it.
When I said in the first press conference that I was included in, my siblings, they live for justice. I want the truth. I still have the truth. And I knew I wasn't gonna get it.
That hurts. That hurts. I know.
No, because I've been sitting all my life. So it don't hurt. I'm conditioned to it now. It just happens to be my son. They can't get the truth.
That's crazy, man, to hear that from a father that's grieving. That's Ricky Cobb's father you're hearing in the background.
Not nobody. It never will happen.
We just really want accountability.
Give me the truth.
Right.
And I know how it goes with the union. I know how it all goes now.
We need you. We need you on this union fight. We need you on this union fight.
You want to fear for your life, and I know how the union go twist the words. Been there, done it.
We need you on it.
BLE to the UTU. Done it.
Need you.
Done it. I
On
know
it.
how the unions work.
That's all political stuff, man.
Exactly.
We need you on
It
it.
happens to be, what year is this? This is political year, right?
Right.
Things change.
I think you'll find the truth in the 60-page report.
Okay.
The truth of whose?
No, I think you'll find the truth. It's not justice, but I think they.
They'll say why he got off on those technicalities within those.
They go through you will be able to see exactly what happened and the fact that the analysis that they didn't give Vicky a chance in many ways, that there were so many things about this that shouldn't have happened. So
Right.
you will see the truth there. What you won't see is that leads to justice in the criminal legal system. But you'll see the truth about how horrible their tactics were.
And I think you decipher and go through that, take that to help build that union.
That's crazy, man. And it's sad. It's sad. And it does hurt. And it's like how much more do we gotta go through? How much more? Because it's really, really, really starting to hurt. All we're doing is we're losing lives. I just think about since Thursday in Minneapolis, we had a mass shooting where 2 people died plus an officer and 6 were shot. On Saturday on Operation Hug the Block, 3 people were murdered in Minneapolis. At around 11:30, somebody was killed on 33rd and Knox in a gun violence. Then you had the man that was shot no more than 500 feet in front of us. And that's the whole thing of it is because I've seen people trying to question us, right? And honestly, I beat myself up. I cannot get this whole incident that happened on Saturday out of my head. I can't get the whole day out of my head. We literally seen young teenagers, females, women, girls, not going to call them women, girls that were selling themselves for $5. And it's sad because when are we going to care? Right. And that's the one thing that I asked some of these representatives that came out there. What would you do if this was your community? What if this was right down the street from you and you had to live in this? Because when you talk to the neighbors, when you talk to people that actually live in that right down the street from there, or you talk to the people that are right there, they're scared. And people tell, oh, move. It's not that easy for some people. It's not. Literally, you know, while that shooting happened, there was a family that was visiting that lived right down the street on Morgan, and her kids were out there, her grandchild, and so when they made sure they got home safe, and you know, I messaged later on that evening, and of course the next morning to see how everybody was doing, and the response I got was sad. It broke my heart. It literally broke my heart for the simple fact that he didn't want to come out again. And that's what we do this for, so that the kids can come out and play, so that the kids can come out and be kids and not have to be hostages or prisoners in their own houses or their own rooms, because some kids want to come out and play in their front yards. And unless you understand how it feels as a parent to be outside, right, while they were getting ready to go back home, right. I forget you were out there, Robert. Yeah, because Robert was there when the shooting happened. When Robert was out there. And it wasn't like literally we were sitting there saying goodbyes, and the next all we hear is pop, 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 pop. And we look around and I'm telling everybody, get down, making sure that our team is good. Me and Marcus run off. That's the first thing that we do. We run off. Because it just sickens me, man. It does. And then when you're out there, you know, people, y'all them niggas with the t-shirts. No. Yeah, we have t-shirts on. We don't get paid all the money that we put into this. We work for. Here's the thing. The things that these nonprofits do, A Mother's Love, We Push for Peace, the backpacks, and they do that with city money. They do that with grant money. We do that with our money. We do the same things that they do, but only with our money. Because people, they always think we get all these donations. No, we had it like that at first when we came out in 2021, because we were using our own money. You were using our own bread. And that's the one crazy thing that's one thing that people can say whatever they want about me loudly, but they will never say the things that I've done for them. That's the one crazy part. People can speak bad on my name all they want, but let's talk about all the good things that I did for you, and never ask for anything in return. Never ask for anything in return but your loyalty. That's it. And that's why we're not getting nowhere, because we literally have activists that don't care about change in our communities. Because I'll tell you right, it doesn't make sense for them to make change, because you actually change the system. They don't have no more dead bodies to be out here chanting. They don't have no more families to be hustling. Do people not understand that? It doesn't make sense to them to make change, because it doesn't make money. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. These bodies adding up. Right. And you know what's crazy is Bobby Champion was actually, and I'm not, here's the thing of it is, because people be like, oh, well, Bobby stopped out there. Not willingly. And this how God does this. That's how I know God works, man, and that God is real, right? Because literally Bobby got stuck behind a bus. And I'm like, wait, hold up. I seen a BMW, I seen a nice little car, and I was like, wait, damn, I said, bro, Marcus, there go Bobby right there, bro. He's like, no, it ain't. I said, bro, yes, it is. Go up to the car. He go up there. It's Bobby. He's like, Bobby, come on, do it. Come back around. We didn't think he was. He did. Came back around. He spun the block. But I'll tell you right now, though, if he did not get caught behind that bus, he wasn't stopping like that. He wasn't. He wasn't stopping like that. That's why I'm not going to give that man credit, because he wasn't stopping like that. And I stand on that. Now, Walter, Paul, Pam, they were invited. They're not from North Minneapolis. They are representatives from other communities. And I wanted them to see a side that Jerry McAfee, that these fake ass nonprofits aren't going to show them. They're not going to tell them the real deal, Holyfield. And I wish that they would have stayed out there longer. And I knew that they had prior engagements already for that day. But people really need to be out there. Oh yeah, it definitely is. No, thank you, Robert. It needs to be said. It needs to be said, because we've had, let's see, shit, I don't even know how many murders in the last since Thursday, because we've had 2 civilians, a police officer died. We've had 3 on Saturday. That's 6. I think there was 1 and then you got to think, there was 1 yesterday. There was a fatality. And then you got to think about the overdoses. I've seen at least on New Saturday, there was 7 overdoses. By the time that we overdose deaths, go look up the minute. And it's the crazy part of it is what pisses me off, because the minute that we actually know that they're going to make change, they're not going to let our community over North Minneapolis be a war zone. They're not going to let the parking lots of a convenience store be a drug drive-through where people just drive up and boom, 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 and they do that. No, it literally reminds me of the show The Wire. And people really should watch The Wire, the episodes about Amsterdam. They really should. They really should. They should really, 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 really watch the Amsterdam episodes of The Wire, because it'll expose a lot. That's literally what North Minneapolis looks like right now. You have you don't want nobody to know. But I wanted to show something else too. That, people always, they're not doing that to North Minneapolis. Yeah, they are. And people, that's the one crazy part why it's fun. I should stop saying that, because it's not funny to me. It's not funny at all. It saddens me. Yeah, they had a sex worker. That shit kind of tripped me out. We literally got kids out here being sex trafficked, and then we got dummies downtown Minneapolis promoting sex work. Make it make sense, man. So I want people to see this though, because they say that the narrative is that businesses are fleeing North Minneapolis because of racist crime, right? Well, we have the city of Minneapolis, growing Minneapolis, the state of Minnesota, and the NGO Neighborhood Development Center offering Minnesota Promise Act grants, relocation. So if you've been structural racial discrimination, civil unrest, lack of access to capital, loss of population, aging population, lack of regional economic diversification. Yeah. This is what's crazy. And it's like, people don't even understand it. They're gentrifying our whole North Minneapolis, and people are too scared to speak up about it because they get paid. Because they get paid by the city, right? These same people, man, right here. Because these people sat in a meeting and they broke down how to, I ain't even gonna go there. But y'all heard Reverend Tim Christopher. You heard him. Literally, they handed out checks, $100,000 checks, and then broke it down. They were told to break it down into $25,000 payments to start LLCs. Yeah, the gig is up. The gig, because I'm telling you right now, the people they're gonna get pissed off enough where something is about to crack. Something is about to happen, and people don't even understand it because you're blindly following people. You're blindly following sheep disguised in wolf's clothing. That ass. You're following the devil. You're literally, most of these people are following the wrong God. Because y'all forget the devil was more than just an angel. He was more than just an angel. So that's how I know that people don't understand the Bible. They don't understand what we're facing. This is good versus evil. This isn't Republicans versus Democrats. This isn't black versus white. Because we all have all that diversity in our communities already. This is good versus evil, right versus wrong. And just because there's people standing saying that it's right doesn't make that it's right. That means there's a bunch of dumbass people. Because that's what the whole point of this is. They didn't want a nation of thinkers. They wanted a nation of workers. So now that you finally are starting to get a nation of thinkers, they're not liking that. They don't like that. We're guests. We want to know what they're doing. We want to know what they're doing. They don't like that because then they have to be transparent, right? They have to be truthful. They have to be accountable. And that's not what they want. They want their Lexuses. They want their never broke again shirts. They want to be able to get up here and stand in front of the media and be like, all lives matter. Wow. Yeah, all lives do matter. But nigga, when are you going to care about your people's lives? That's what I don't understand. It's like people will get up there and be we'll say we're the realest nigga, or we're self-made. But then you look into them and then you see where they get them. You're not self-made. Bob Fletcher made you who you were. You're the only reason why you're there, Mickey, is because you were selected. They want you up there. They want you. Because they know everybody's got a price. And y'all won't. That's the one crazy thing and I'll say this, that niggas, they will never go, you will never bite the hand that feeds. They will never do that. They'll never bite the hand that feeds them because that hand feeds them very well. That's why they're able to buy fake ass car dealerships, or they're able to buy, let's say, what is that? Clothing brands. They want to start clothing brands. Come on, man. And then we allow them to do that on taxpayer dollars. And then they call themselves self-made men. Y'all wouldn't be shit without the grant money. Because you wouldn't do the things that we're doing with our money that we do. Because if y'all would, you would already be doing it. But you're not. You say you work for the community, but yet you don't. Because if you worked for the community, it wouldn't be about money. You wouldn't be out here passing out expired cookies. Expired ass cookies. And these aren't my words. These are the people that are actually out here. And then when they ask about the resources, oh yeah, we don't got none of that. Yeah, because your bosses are taking it. They're buying $500,000 houses out in Champlain Park. So I said what I said, man. And we'll be on 12th and Lake Street this Saturday. When are you people going to stand up and stand for something? Are you going to keep falling for the shit that they say they're standing for? Because I'll tell you right now, Malcolm would stand with none of these niggas. And maybe at the end of the day, he probably wouldn't stand with me. But I know I stand more about Malcolm X's values and his integrity than they do. Because Malcolm wouldn't do the things that they're doing. He wouldn't scam them. He wouldn't lie to the community, knowing that what they're doing is making it harder for us to be prosperous, to empower, to be self-sufficient. They want us on the titty. They want us on a pacifier. They don't want us to be self-sufficient. They want us to keep on being victims instead of being victors. Because that's America isn't about that America. What is the American dream? Because everybody's is different. Everybody's is different. So just want people to think about that today, man. Because it's gonna be, think about Ricky. Don't stop. Don't let his name die out. Right? Let's get accountability. It doesn't have to be with money, because we can still get out here and get justice. We can still get out here and get accountability, but we got to fight for it. And it's not going to be easy, because anything that is done easy wasn't easy anyways. Oh yeah, I had to think about something for a minute. I had to think about something. But it's going to be a long week, man. And we're going to talk more. Because I'm not letting this subject go at all. I'm not letting it go. Nowhere near letting this shit go. But before I get up out of here, man, I wanted to just play one more song to get up out of here for today, because you cannot shine without the sun, man. You cannot shine without the sun. Remember that you cannot shine without sun. And with that being said, man, I hope everybody has a great rest of your Monday. Win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Wish me well. Y'all have a great one. Peace out.
Always know that all is one. Don't talk about it, but get it done. Yeah. Don't forget about where you from. And just know you can't shine without the sun.
What you do,
The other day, someone just called me a legend. He said that they sleeping, but you keep on going. Thought to myself, like I'm sleeping myself, could be going way harder and already know it. I put my pain in these paintings. If you could relate to what I say, then know you ain't lonely. Feeling alone because so many people be toxic, need positive energy only. You really love me, then you need to show me them actions are louder than words. But too many people be taking advantage of power that they don't deserve. Stay away from the ones who be thinking they know everything and refusing to learn. We be playing with fire for what we desire, not caring when we getting burned, yeah. Bitches be acting like niggas and niggas be acting like bitches, they switching positions. I put it all on the line and I make sacrifices to put my kingdom in position. Stay independent, be handling business, take care of the mission until it's complete. A man with no vision is wasting his purpose. You act like you worthless when you do not drink. Always know that all is one. Don't talk about it, but get it done. Yeah. Don't forget about where you from. And just know you can't shine without the sun. Been taking my time to heal, get the lesson applied for real. I'm a boss, I pay all of my bills. No, I'm the one, I ain't signing no deal. Came from the bottom, so I had to grind for real. Learn how to survive for real. Been starting to thrive and build. When you in the trenches and been through it all, you get live for real. Now they out here clocking my moves. Stay trying to watch how I do, but my style is uncopyable. Don't say my name without honorable. May you make way for the star in the room. Just need that call with the stars in the roof. They call me Blaze cause I spark up the room, bringing light to the darkness. The children look up to me too. I let them know that they gifted and they ought to use it. Just how I do with this music, it's more than just rhyming. We having influence, just gotta be wise to stop being foolish. My eyes on the island, they buying them diamonds, materialized behind an illusion. Pardon me if I step down on your ego and pride, I'm just clearing out all the confusion. Yeah. Always know that all is one. Don't talk about it, but get it done. Yeah. Don't forget about where you from.